Welcome back to my channel, Duct Tape Mechanic, and to another episode of my series, Free on Facebook, a series of videos in which I find things for free on Facebook, and I show you how to repair them, repurpose them, or reuse them in another way. In this video, I got this Whirlpool Cabrio / Kenmore Oasis washer that's not filling with water and giving the LF error code. I'm going to show you how to fix this, so if you like this video, make sure you subscribe to my channel for more DIY and tinkering videos. So here's the washer in question. It's a Whirlpool Cabrio washer, but this video will be also applicable to the Kenmore Oasis washer, which is pretty much the sister to this washer. The Cabrio has a multitude of different models. This particular one is this model right here, a very popular washer. I despise these washers because of their bearing issues, and they have a lot of other issues as well. I have a lot of videos on troubleshooting these washers, but personally I try not to pick up these washers all that often because that bearing is really difficult, or it takes a good hour of work, and then it's quite expensive for a washer that you picked up for free. Even the cheapest bearing kit is $60 or $70. Alright, so if your washing machine's not filling up with water, the first thing you want to check is make sure the actual water is on coming into the machine. And this is quite obvious, but you'd be surprised by how many comments I get on different models where they'll say, hey, what do you think is going on with my washer? It's not filling or it's not starting. And I say, after I move, oftentimes they'll be like, hey, it's not, we just moved and it's not filling. And I'll say, is the water on? They'll be like, and then they'll comment back in a day or so and say, yes, the water was off. So make sure the water is on. Once you've verified that the water is actually on and your machine's still not filling up with water, and on the Cabrio and the Oasis, it'll often give an LF error code as well, which means long fill. So it's just taking too long to fill up the washing machine. The next step you'll have to do is remove the inlet hoses and inspect the valves themselves for calcium carbonate buildup. And if you look over here, that hot water valve is pretty clogged up. And so if that's the case, you'll have to replace the on some particular models you can get just this filter here and you can replace that, but on others you'll have to replace the entire valve body. Alright, so if you have this particular model, you can actually remove these mesh filters if you notice that they're clogged up. To do that, all you need to do is take a needle nose plier and pull them right out. So once you get them out, you can either try to clean them or just replace them all together. But whatever you do, do not just take them out and try to run your machine without a filter, because you could potentially risk getting some particles into the valve, and the plunger could get stuck in the open position and pretty much flood your house. So it's not a smart idea. But if you notice that the valves or the filter itself is clean, that could also mean that your valve is electronically bad, and I'll show you how to troubleshoot and replace the valve next. To get access to the valves, you'll have to undo these 3 screws, 1, 2, and 3, but these are captive screws, so you won't be able to get them all the way out. Once the screws are loose, you can just pull this back and we'll get access to the valves. Alright, so to test this electronically is pretty simple. All these solenoids should have between 0.75 to 1 kilo ohm of resistance. So if it reads anything higher than that or lower, there's an issue. Or if the meter reads OL, that tells you that this is an open circuit here. So that means that they need to be replaced. Either they're burned out or they're shorted. So to test that, all we need to do is get our multimeter and put it into the auto ranging resistance function. So right there, and we're just going to pull off one of these tabs right here, like so, and inside there should be just 2 metal prongs, and we're just going to put the leads onto those and see what the reading is. This kind of plug is a little bit weird, so I can show you what those prongs look like, those connectors. and it should be just right there, and it should be inside this plastic plug. You can actually take this part off too if it's easier, but you don't really need to, because the orientation of the meter probes doesn't even matter. So just stick those in there and see what the reading is. Alright, so let's test this one out right here. So I'm just going to put my prongs into place first, or probes I should say, and then you can see the meter reading is 0.0773 kilo ohms, so that's within the 0.075 to 1 kilo ohm spec that is for the resistance of the solenoids. So what you'd have to do is you'd have to test all 6 of these solenoids, and if one of them is bad, you have to replace the entire valve. So I'm going to show you how to do that part next. To do that, all you have to do is pretty much undo all of the solenoids connections and undo this middle temperature sensor connection as well. It's right there in the middle. It just tells you how to mix the temperature right there, and then there's 2 screws, 1 and 2. So let's get to that. You start undoing everything, it is a good idea to take a picture of where everything goes. Even though everything is color coded, like the purple solenoid has purple wires going to it, there's 2 purple solenoids, so you do need to be aware of that. There's also 2 white wires and 2 white solenoids, so that's something you do need to take note of. Other than that, it's a fairly simple thing to replace. We're going to have to take off the 2 clamps on the side right here, and then lift up the top by pushing in the clamps in the front as well. So I'll kind of show you how that looks like real quick. Then we'll just undo the hoses, and that should free up the valves. With the clamps undone for the back, we're going to stick our putty knife about 8 inches from the edge and kind of push in there. There's a little clamp inside there, and that should allow us to lift up the lid. It can be a pain sometimes though. Okay, that's one side. With the top lifted up, you want to make sure that the interface and all the stuff that we loosened up from the back side is secure against the wall. You can see the clamps I was talking about that are actually holding in the valves into place. So now all we're going to have to do is loosen up all 6 of these. Alright, so with all those hoses undid, we should just be able to pull up on the power cord here. Get that kind of out of the way. And now we should just be able to pull up on the valve, and it should just come up. There we go. So that's how the entire valve assembly is removed. And just to install it is pretty much everything in reverse. So you would just plop that into place there, hook up the solenoid connectors, then go to the other side of the top right here and hook up all of the hoses to the appropriate places, and then just kind of put the display, connect the display if you had unconnected it from the start, and then put those 3 screws, the captive screws, into place, and then the 2 screws for the cap, for the clamps I should say, and that should be a done deal. That's how you'd replace the valve on a Whirlpool Cabrio washer or a Kenmore Oasis washer. So if this video was helpful in troubleshooting and fixing your long fill or LF error code of your washing machine not filling with water, make sure you hit the thumbs up sign.